How you doing? How you doing? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How's everyone doing today? My name is Addison Houston, and today I'm excited to be here at TED Talk. I had a little bit of trouble finding the auditorium, but I'm glad I found it. So today I am very, very honored to be talking today about unpacking leadership for the modern era. So what makes a great leader, right? When you think of leaders, you know, you think of, is it intelligence? Is it charisma? Or is it perhaps the ability to make bold decisions? Leadership theories have evolved significantly, and today we're going to explore a few of these principles, and we're going to dive into detail, and we're going to take a company, Patagonia, and we're going to dive into them, and we're going to discuss that. So let's dive into a little bit about the trait, skills, behavioral, ethical, and inclusive leadership styles, and see how those effective leadership styles can shape our dynamic world. The trait approach suggests that certain incoherent characteristics make individuals effective leaders, whether it's intelligence, self-confidence, determination, integrity, or sociability, right? That having that high emotional intelligence has become increasingly important, and having leaders who can understand their emotions and how they can use those to as leverage to impact their subordinates and their organization. Those leaders become more effective. So Yvonne Chouinard, who is the CEO currently of Patagonia, they exemplify traits like determination and integrity. He didn't just build a successful company; he committed it to an environmental responsibility. So he attached his personal ethos and his traits to the company's overall mission. So the trait approach teaches us that while traits alone aren't enough, they set the stage for impactful leadership. So for Patagonia, for them to set their sights on being environmentally sustainable and having a minimized carbon footprint, it has impacted various facets of their business from manufacturing to back office operations to people ops and human resources, and as well as how they run their retail stores and online shopping. Speaking of traits, my wife often tells me I've got leadership potential because I can find my way around an IKEA without a map most of the time. But hey, even that takes determination and self-confidence, right? So moving along outside of the trait approach, keep in mind there's another one that's super important called the skills approach. So while traits focus on who you are, the skills approach emphasizes what you can do. So this approach underscores that leadership isn't just innate, but it can be learned and developed. Whether it's mastering supply chain logistics or fostering a culture of collaboration, skills matter just as much as traits do. And let's face it, even the best leaders sometimes have to learn new skills. So the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, is false, especially when it comes to leadership. Patagonia is a great exemplifier of this. Their leaders balance technical knowledge about sustainable materials, human skill, and they leverage that against the human skill of inspiring employees and conceptual foresight to see long-term environmental impact. In addition to this, the behavioral approach, right, that shifts the focus on what leaders do. They are task-oriented, relationship-oriented, or both. Great leaders have to know when to adapt, right? So again, Patagonia, they don't just make sweaters and jackets and hats and gloves. Their leaders also not only have to balance inventory and design and shipping, but they also have to balance achieving business goals while nurturing employee well-being. So Patagonia focuses a lot on employee work-life balance, increased maternity leave that's higher than average, competitive pay, um, spa day on the weekends, right? Ping pong tables. Patagonia, their focus on work-life balance and equity demonstrates that leadership behavior significantly impacts the organizational culture. People want to work at Patagonia. They don't just work there because they need a 9 to 5 job. They work there because that is like the culture. They have more friendships, and they find more purpose in their work. Being of behaviors, my wife has a leadership approach at home too. She is task oriented when it comes to chores and relationship oriented when she's bribing me with pizza to finish them, right? So leadership is all about balance. And ethical leadership is also a large component of leadership, and we cannot forget this. Ethical leadership means basically admitting that you've made a bad call, right? It's the heart of sustainable success. Leaders who, with influence, do not just influence the results, but also they impact the ethical climate of the organization. They must act with respect, justice, honesty, and commitment to the community. Patagonia exemplifies this through their transparency in supply chains and commitment to fair labor practices. So, like my scholar McKenzie and Laura put together, ethical leadership is outlined by various different scholars like Greenleaf and Heifetz, who teach us that it's not just about profits, but it's about purpose, right? Leaders must prioritize long-term social benefits over short-term gains. Ethical leadership, like I said at the beginning, also it it basically means that you've made a bad call, right? And it's how willing are you to admit that? So I tried to lead my family's Thanksgiving dinner, and it ended up serving undercooked turkey. My wife led the cleanup, so I guess we're even. Gender and leadership. So despite progress, women still remain largely underrepresented in leadership roles, right? At Patagonia, however, initiatives promoting equity and diversity demonstrate the power of inclusive practices. By providing mentorship and equal opportunities, they help break down barriers like the leadership labyrinth that many women face, or in other words, the glass ceiling, right? So this chapter reminded us in the class that fostering diverse leadership isn't just morally right, it's a business imperative. A large marginalized group of people might make up a large percentage of your workforce. You do not want to alienate them, but instead you want to create programs and you want to create incentives that incentivize them to keep participating in your company. So that is where like that having that empathy as a leader comes into play. And like we said at the beginning, you start building a more sustainable culture at your company. Inclusive leadership. So, like my colleague Albert Lyne stated, inclusive leadership focuses on creating environments where everyone feels they belong and their unique perspectives are valued. So, Patagonia, I've said it 15 different ways. They emphasize collaboration, and participation, whether it's across departments or it's across different cultures. This enhances employee engagement. Inclusive leaders ensure that even the quietest voices are heard, making their organizations stronger. It's impossible. Abraham Lincoln said it best: "A house divided cannot stand." If you're running a company and you want to be the most successful company in your industry that you can be, everyone has to be on the same page. And Patagonia is a prime example of that. The lesson here is inclusion isn't optional. It's essential for thriving in a globalized marketplace. You can't alienate people when you have the wool coming from over here, you have the zippers coming from over here, you have the store employees who live in these types of environments. Everyone needs to be heard and everyone's needs need to be met and felt on the same page in order for you to thrive as a company in today's economy. And finally, team leadership. So today, leaders must guide dynamic cross-functional teams. At Patagonia, team leaders diagnose challenges and take decisive actions to align goals and enhance effectiveness, right? Having that strategic decision-making model, monitoring, diagnosing, and acting is a very critical tool. It ensures that teams stay agile and focused while driving success in uncertain times. So, ladies and gentlemen, not to talk your head off and bore you to death, my wife has to get on me all the time about that. Leadership is not a one size fits all. It's a blend of traits, skills, and behaviors that require collaboration and empathy to be successful. Companies like Patagonia, in my case study that my colleagues and I put together, demonstrate how these principles can translate into real world success. As I leave you here today, I challenge you to reflect on your own leadership. What traits define you? How do you view yourself amongst a cohort of subordinates or your board or your fellow executives? And how can you lead with ethics and inclusivity to inspire change in your place of work? My name is Addison Houston. Thank you for coming.